Hello, and thank you for purchasing your product from Perform Better and allowing us to show you some of the many uses of the great items you will find in our catalog. The goal of this video is to help you better understand the product and to see how you can use each of them. Now, because most of the products in the Perform Better catalog can be used in a variety of settings, we'll try to show you as many different uses as possible for the home user, the physical therapist, or the trainer so everyone can walk away with some great ideas. We are always available to assist you if you ever need an answer to a question that you may have, so please don't hesitate to call us directly at 1-800-556-7464. Thanks again, and let's move on to the exercises.
A few of the key components to any program are flexibility, mobility, and recovery. Without a combination of these three vital components, any program set up for yourself or your client is not complete. What we are going to show you now are some basic uses for the FoamRoller, which will help you improve all three of these components. Start with the roller on the upper back behind the shoulder blades. Use your feet to push and pull your body over the roller. Hands can be placed behind your head or arms can be crossed in front of you, whichever position is more comfortable for you. The body can be manipulated to find the tight spots in the upper back. The roller position for the lumbar spine starts at the top of your hips. From there, it rolls from the top of your hips to the middle of your back. Again, you're using your feet to push and pull your body over the roller.
What you're going to need to do is get a base of support with your hands, and then also a comfortable foot placement for you so that you can cross the opposing leg over the leg that's in contact with the ground. You're going to have a slight bit of rotation in your hips so that you really focus on the hip of that crossed leg, and you're going to need to use your hands on this one as well as your feet to help roll forwards and backwards. You can vary up the angle on this actual mobility sequence on the hip to what you feel comfortable with. If you hit a spot that's a little bit more tender than another area, you can focus solely on that. On this foam roll technique, we're using both feet and the hand to help guide us up and down our lats. All right, this one's a little bit more challenging. You want to try and make sure that you hold your hips off of the ground as well. Don't let your hip drag on the ground, and go to what you feel comfortable with. This one's not going to be a huge range of motion, so try not to focus on getting really big rolls on here, because you're only going to be able to go a couple inches forwards and backwards. On this particular drill, we've already really kind of hit the glutes and the piriformis. Now we're just doing a little easier version of the glutes. This one, we're just going to get the feet out in front. All right, the hands are in back of us, and we're just going to rock forwards and backwards. It's not a huge movement. If you want to try and glide down a little bit lower, you can also, get your lumbar spine a little bit more if you need to. Do what you feel comfortable with, what feels good for you. But on this one, it's just a very simple forward rock, back and forth. Feet stay flat to the floor, and just using the hands to help propel you forwards and backwards. The hamstrings, this one's not too difficult. I just want to focus on keeping the legs as straight as possible. Keep the heels from hitting the floor. And you're just going to rock back and forth along the length of your hamstrings. Now, somebody with a shoulder mobility issue, flexibility issue, might be challenging for you because you might not be able to roll as far down as Mary is in this video, but do the best you can. And if you have to progress in segments, just progress in segments. All right, on the calves, what you're going to see with this video. It's similar to the hamstrings. Again, you're not going to be able to do gigantic movements if you don't have a ton of flexibility, mobility in the shoulders. But as you notice on the video, Mary's going to periodically rotate her toes in and out. What this is going to do is help hit both the medial and lateral aspects of the gastrocnemius, a little bit of the soleus, and it just varies up the angle at which Mary's applying the foam roller to her lower leg. The quadriceps isn't a very, very difficult movement to do. It's similar to a push-up position. You want to keep your legs off the floor, try and keep your legs extended as much as possible. Some people have really, really tight quadriceps. So for somebody that has a very tight quad, this might be a little uncomfortable for you to do. So you may need to apply a little bit more pressure, all right, to the upper body, to the hands, to try and take some of the weight bearing off of that foam roller. But you're just going to work up and down the length of your quadriceps. You can really try and focus on, on your hips too, up towards your hip flexors if you want to. But what's comfortable for you, you're just going to work your way up and down from your hip to the top of your knee on the quadriceps. All right, what Mary's working on now is, a combination of her hip flexor and also a little bit of her quad if she wanted to. What she's done is she's shifted down towards the ends of the roller. You could also use a 1-foot foam roller for this as well. Those are a little easier to manipulate around. But you're just going to work, all right, your hip flexors and your quad on that one leg. And if you notice Mary, she's using both of her feet and her hands to help push her forwards and backwards. This drill right here is a little bit more difficult for some people to do because it's a coordination thing more than anything. You need to get in that push-up position similar to what you were doing with the hip flexor, but you're going to work the leg that's on the foam roller in a diagonal pattern. So you want to try and almost saw up and down that foam roller. Now this one is much more difficult than most of the other foam roller drills. So take your time at it and get comfortable with it. Do what's comfortable for you. What we're going to do here with the anterior tibialis and the peroneals is really not much different than what was being done with the calves and the soleus. You're going to lay in a push-up position with your shins across the foam roller, and you're going to roll back and forth from your ankle up towards your knee, and periodically while you do that, you're just going to rotate your feet or your toes in and out. This way you can hit your anterior tibialis and your peroneals. On this video, Mary has a 1-foot 6-inch half-round foam roller and then a 3-foot 6-inch half-round foam roller. It's just a 2-point balance. Mary's going into shoulder flexion and hip extension, and then she's just coming back into center, all right, with a little bit of a crunch. It's just basically a balance, stabilization exercise. It's very, very challenging. It's not an easy exercise to do. If you need to, as you can see, Mary adjusted to make it a little bit easier for her. She's still doing a 2-point balance, but now she's got her foot in contact with the ground. All right, so control-wise, it's a lot easier for her to control. All right, and we can work on the movement. And then as she starts to get more comfortable with the movement, we can go back and take that foot off of the ground to give her a little bit more of a challenge. On this one, we're using the 3-foot 6-inch half-round foam roller. We're just doing static lunges. Mary's staying on the foam roller. She's on her toes on the trail leg. The front foot stays as flat as possible. We're trying to keep the chest up nice and tall. Go to a depth that you can control and that you feel comfortable with. And if you can, get in a wide enough stance where that back knee just touches the foam roller. You're not going to jam your knee down into the foam roller. Just want to maintain a nice tall posture, arms across the chest, almost like you were a mummy, and then just drop the back knee right down into the foam roller. In this version of a single leg squat, Mary's standing on a 1 foot, 6-inch half round foam roller. A couple of the key things you want to work on this drill are the foot that you're standing on that foam roller. Make sure that stays as level as possible. As Mary collapses down towards the ground, you want to focus on the movement originating at the ankle, the knee, and the hip. Don't just bend forward or lean over, flexing at your waist. You want to try and reach down as low as you can possibly go, maintaining complete control of the movement. Mary can reach in front of her toe, she can reach a little bit medially towards the inside of her ankle, or she can reach laterally towards the outside of her ankle to vary up the intensity and the difficulty of the drill. What you want to make sure though, maintain consistent speed throughout the entire movement. If you fall off or if you step off of the foam roller, that's fine. Just make sure you're not going too fast where with every rep you're not able to control it. On this version of a hip extension, Mary's going to have her feet flat to the floor. She's on a 3 foot, 6-inch round foam roller. Her hands are out to the side to give her a little bit more support. And what she's trying to do is elevate or raise her hips and as much of her back off of that foam roller as possible so that she gets a maximum amount of hip extension. Really wants to focus on driving her hips up towards the sky, squeezing her glutes at the top of the movement, and then slowly lowering her hips back down to the foam roller. When she takes her hands off of the floor and puts them across her chest, that makes the movement that much more challenging for her. On this movement, now we've gone from a 2 foot placement on the floor to a single leg placement on the floor. Mary's doing a hip extension still. Her arms are out to the side to give her a little bit more support and a little bit more stability on the foam roller. If you notice in the video, Mary's keeping her left leg off the ground, but she wants to keep that completely extended. What Mary's doing now are wood chops on the foam roller. This is a 3 foot long, 6-inch half round foam roller. While you do the wood chops, you want to focus on keeping your feet as level as possible on that foam roller throughout the duration of the movement. And as you chop the ball down towards the ground, make sure your chest is staying upright. All right, don't just bend over at your waist and try and slam the ball down to the foam roller. You still want to control the movement of the squat on the way down towards the ground and then back up to your start position. Slow controlled movements, make sure the pattern of the movement is good, and go to a depth that you can control. Really focusing though on balance. If you step off of the foam roller, that's fine. Just make sure that you correct yourself. Don't do anything where the movement pattern is not correct.